Music Multiverse listeners, it's time for another catalog review show. This English band, at one point in the world, you could safely call them the biggest band on the planet. They can still sell out stadiums and then some. Hell, they'll play a giant nowhere carnival with more than thousands that can be counted. Their sound is large enough to fill any area at any time, and it feels almost infinitesimal. It actually started out that way, at least from my recording recollection, right from the beginning in their debut album. And it was love, and what the hell is that at first sight? This is no ordinary rock band, even though when you look them up on Wikipedia, it says an English rock band. They are way more than that. This is a band that take it full on with a virtuosity of all kinds on every front, from the blazing, spacey, progressive guitar work to groove drop D swing out bass lines to force of nature driving drums to the nearly orchestral organ and keyboard manifesto arpeggios of the keyboardist, who happens to also be the guitarist, who happens to also be the lead singer. These musicians, this trio, this power trio, in actuality, over time, now 9 albums in, the eventuality of a clash for the greatest trio of all time could happen. It could.
So I was going to say.
So there is no other that can command sound in this matter, and the creativity, the anthem bashing and crashing, as well as the merely rock operatic vocal that makes this one of the heaviest, loudest, and formidable bands to ever step foot in the modern progressive rock environment. And they shatter perceptions while still maintaining an homage or a respect of those that have paved their ears. This is Matt Bellamy, Dominic Howard, and Chris, I believe, Wolstenholme. Maybe I butchered that, sorry. And this is the catalog review show of Muse. Total album sales might not lead you to the biggest picture. Only 30 million overall with albums. The highest selling album is still Black Holes and Revelations, probably about a 3.2 million. The Absolution sold about 2.2. And then, after that, 1.6 million, I think, for the Second Law. Origin of Symmetry, almost approaching that million, maybe has it by now. Muse has over 5 billion Spotify streams and 2.5 billion YouTube streams. And obviously, does that really come down to like watching their live shows, right? And you can stream something, but I would say that most people that stream a Muse show would probably watch it from start to finish. They wouldn't just pick pieces. In 2012, they received the Novella Award for the International Achievement for the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors. Tonight, discussing the ranking, the band, our take with me will be our panelist, Jeff Young, who has obviously seen the band live with me as well. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and we're doing this show. And what were your thoughts?
It's interesting. I don't know if I was looking at something older or newer, but I was reading where it said Muse's most successful album was The Resistance, selling more than 5 million copies worldwide.
It could be now. I mean, The Resistance at one point was at 3.2 million, so it wasn't. My data could be wrong.
I was like, it was just on the album's Wikipedia page, so I don't know. Maybe that
Okay.
could be wrong, could be right. I don't know. Either way, they sold a few million.
Yeah, those few albums. And it's funny how they're not all lumped together like most bands. Like their big selling album, bang, their next selling album, and then it starts to drop off from there. These are quite a distance between these records. So
yeah, for me, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard. Although we did it for the show, like to go 1 through 9. For me, it's these are the top 3, these are the middle 3, these are the bottom 3. And I find myself, whenever I'm listening to like a bottom 3, of my list, I'm just like, the reason they're in the bottom three is because when I'm listening, I'm like, why am I listening? I can just listen to one of the ones I like more.
That's a true point in the listening experience. It's very, I mean, we've done these for some interesting artists, and this one is no stranger to this. Of it's always good to. I mean, you and I came in at the same time, so this is a prejudice show. Whereas if we had somebody else that came in at a different time, let's say the Grateful Dude who listens to Muse, he may have not come in on the Showbiz or the Origin of Symmetry. He may have come in at Black Holes and Revelation, maybe, or even later. So
I feel like, too, like no matter what album you're talking about, and if they make another 9 albums, they'll probably all get, you know, um, generally a positive reception, when it's released. May not always be way high critically or way high fans, but no one's ever going to say it sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
yep, 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 yep. All right. Well, we'll start this ranking because I don't want to get too much into the discussion because during the ranking we'll talk a little bit about maybe the album or why. So give me your 9, 8, 7 since we're going to go in threes.
I mean, my 9, 8, and 7 are pretty much because I listen to them the least, and because of that, I'm probably least familiar with them. But anytime I choose to get more familiar with them, I don't stay with it. So my number 9 is Drones,
Okay.
and I read where they said it was a concept album about, well, dehumanization of modern warfare, everything going to drones. So it's kind of like that through the eyes of like a soldier as a drone. But anyway, um, in some cases, I understand how some people might think it's a little repetitive. There's not really a particular, like, I couldn't even really name you my favorite track off it. It just, they're all about the same for me. Um, but I don't ever listen to it the whole way through. I don't dislike it. I appreciate it, and I'm a Muse fan, so it's all good to me. But it's just nothing about it that makes me want to keep going back to it.
Okay. And your number 8?
My 8 is "Will of the People," the last release. Uh, it's a good mix of different genres and stuff, and um, for them, even though they did something new to them, the newer music to them was kind of like already passe to me. Like the distorted voice, the screaming, the really super heavy guitars, which they can do well. It just wasn't. It was new for them, and obviously, it's not like anyone didn't think they could do that. They can do anything. But it's a good album. But for me, again, it's just not one that I really go to.
And finally, your number 7.
7 was Simulation Theory. I call this the video game album because that's what it looks like on the album. It looks like for a video game.
Yeah.
Very like I think of like Vice City, Grand Theft Auto. Like it feels like that to me. Like even some of the music, but um, I, I did read where the album cover was designed by the Stranger Things artist,
Yeah.
and some of their music videos pay homage to the 1980s type pop culture, but like Back to the Future and Michael Jackson's Thriller. But again, it's good music. I like it. It's fun, but it's almost a little too much of the 80s era for me to be wanting to keep going back to it. But I mean, it's a good album. I think everyone should listen to it. They're interested in Muse.
Yeah. All right, so my number 9, I'm kind of sort of following suit with you. My number 9 will of the people. I'm pretty sure right now that no matter what they put out from here on out, that will this is always going to be my least favorite, and it's an oddity because it's actually kind of a going back to what they influenced by. I think it's Queen. I think the whole album is Queen. I don't know why I think that. I hear it. Other people have chimed in on this album with me before, have said the same thing. But yeah, I think this is the rock manifesto Queen type of deal. And I don't think it needed to be done. I think it was already a foregone conclusion that we all had. There's pieces of Queen in their music. There's pieces of other bands in their music. And this one definitely felt like it was near theft in some cases. My number 8 is Simulation Theory, sort of the same as you. The 80s. Again, this is going back, and they do a marvelous job of it. Um, it's Ready Player One kind of thing.
It's weird to say it's my seventh. It's on my, but it's not like I don't like the album. It's just number 7 on my list.
Yeah, there are a couple killer songs on there too, but this does fit in that realm. My number 7 is The Second Law. And to be honest with you, when I was going through this exercise after playing that record, I felt like it was sort of unfair, but fair. But that and the next one that's going to be at my 6 are kind of this toss and turn kind of thing. So Second Law, just
You were flip flopped.
could I name a song? I just remember the flow and the entire album being very good, and there being those progressive drops and craziness and creativity that they exude, but nothing that caught me to the point where I was going to go, God, I got to play this again and again and again and again. But as we move forward on this list, that changes completely. So going back to you for 6, 5, and 4.
So 6, that's the one I had, Second Law. And, it was explained that it was more of an experimental album, like with tracks like Madness and Panic Station, which are probably 2 of the ones I listened to the most off that album. And it was a concept album about the deteriorating planet and its inhabitants, us, can no longer live on. I don't know. I feel like
and then if we don't
picks
get it
a lot
right,
of themes for his albums, and maybe that's what gets him going to thinking about how to write, which is whatever works for you is good for me.
that's right.
But yeah, good album. It's just number 6. That's really all it is for me. I mean, it's a good album. It's just number 6.
So if that's number 6, and we don't save the planet, does everybody get back in the pile?
Yes. My 4 and 5, I probably could flip flop, but I'll just keep in the way I have it on the list. And my 5 I have as The Resistance, which it's got like strong tracks like Uprising and Resistance. It's that's from here on up, all these albums I listen to, I'll listen to them regularly. You know what I mean? And they're all worth listening to, beginning to end, in my opinion. But Resistance falls at number 5 for me.
Okay. So and then you got
4 was Showbiz, their debut album.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. Like, I didn't listen to their debut album until after I probably listened to one of their later albums. Their later albums are kind of what I heard first, but I'll get into that later, I guess. So, but yeah, it's probably like the 3rd album I listened to on of them.
Okay. My number 6 is Drones. Drones and The Second Law could go back and forth with me. These, again, concept records. I enjoy concept records. Sometimes I don't get the concept right away. They're pretty good at making it self-evident. Drones has a couple of standout tracks though, and that's kind of why I elevated over Second Law. It took some risks there that were better than Second Law in my opinion right at the moment, but if I listen to it again, who knows, I swap. My number 5 is also The Resistance, and a strong album. I agree with you on the track there, the Uprising, and this is that anthem, and that everything he does, it fits that opera almost, right? It just does. My number 4 is also Showbiz from 1999, the debut, which could flip and flop between the one I'm going to have at 3. Showbiz is probably one of the most underrated debut albums of all time. I think it. Let's put it this way: this album didn't. I don't even think it charted in the U.S. In the UK, I don't think it got higher than 67, but yet it's still revealed. Okay, revered as a standout record.
You know what I think of it as? It's kind of like if you're in charge of doing all the lists and charts, you're like going through all of them, and you're like, someone hands you the album, you're like, huh, you're pretty okay. Well, it's not going on my list, but that's going on my private stash for later.
Yes. Yes.
It's my special reserve.
Yes. I would agree with that statement. Plus, and in '99, I don't think people knew what they had, which is evident by one of the discussions I'll have about one of the other albums that came after. So,
That's the, I think that's too, like, there was a lot of comparisons to Radiohead simply because of the tone of voice, but I don't think people, it was the only thing they could think of to compare it to. So it was maybe not even fair comparison.
no, and yet it's very true that it is not a fair comparison. If the vocals are sort of different and very different, but he's got a bit more range than Tom York does.
But honestly, if someone would ask me what does music sound like if it's 1999, back then I would have might have said the same thing. I might not have known how to explain it.
Yeah, I might have said take Nirvana and make them progressive. Take a little bit of Radiohead. Take some other person in there. I can't think of who it is at the moment. His singing style. Not
Maybe if you
singing style.
replace Geddy Lee with Bellamy.
Yeah, this is that I think it was somewhere I read that his writing style came from Jeff Buckley, which is interesting considering Jeff Buckley only had an album, but some sort of impression there left. So, my number 4. Right? No, yeah, that's it, right? 654.
Yeah.
All right, back to you for your final 3.
You want to go back and forth or just do all 3?
Yeah, we'll go back and forth. Sure.
All right. So my 3 is Origin of Symmetry, which I guess is considered Muse's breakthrough album.
Yeah.
Was that their second album?
Uh-huh.
Kind of known for like Plug In, Newborn, Unplug Out. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, again, you can listen to it front to back, and you can definitely see this is where, like, anyone, I think, we were talking about how you might compare them to the vocals of Radiohead. This is where, like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. They're not Radiohead.
Yep. My number 3 is Black Holes and Revelations. While it is the U.S. breakthrough, more than likely, this was an album that I was very much in love with at the time. I would have told you at the time that it came out, it solidified to me this elevation of attack toward topics, toward society, toward the world as a whole, and Black Hole. They did it so well. It is thematically sound from the start to the finish. It seems to have an ebb and flow to it that's dynamite, and to come off Absolution with that, I think at the time it made sense to me, But going through this exercise again, I don't share that same assortment. Because of a certain
coming off the previous album, you're getting kind of what you want.
Yeah. That might be true. So back to you for number 2.
So for my 2, it was Black Holes and Revelations. And honestly, I can't think of the track Knights of Sodonia without thinking of the Guitar Hero. I mean, I don't know how many times I played it, or because it was like, it was a difficult song to play. It was kind of more than the intermediate level. It wasn't like, something like Dragon Force you just could never play. But and it was fun to play. But that's kind of where I really started getting Muse more pounded into me and thinking I gotta really start listening to this band. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My number 2 is Origin of Symmetry. This 2001 album. I mean, unreal. The record label told him to re-sing it because it wouldn't get radio play. Obviously, the band told them to go shove it. I just listen to what you have. You know what I mean? This is a ridiculously talented band. Probably,
Isn't the one they did on their own label, is it?
I don't think so. No, this is the one where they so Showbiz comes out, and then they move to Origin of Symmetry. Origin of Symmetry is the album, I believe, where they started with the guy and he left to go to do Tool's Lateralis.
Oh, okay. I thought he. Okay, yeah. So I thought he left before they started the album, but he must have started it and then
He
left.
started it and he
Okay,
left to go to with Tool.
I
All
see.
right. Now we can argue about the greatness of that decision, right? I mean, he's still got a fingerprint on
I
that.
guess everyone can win.
Yes, right. It's just that's why it's at number 2. This is 2001, and that album sounds even more ridiculously fresh than Showbiz. It sounds tremendous. And did they have all the whistles and bells in the production studio that they should have had, could have had? They weren't selling hundreds of millions of records, or they weren't big on anything. So to have this and do it so fantastically well, and then Grip Me. I mean, I'm pretty sure with you and I, this is the Origin of Symmetry is done, and Absolution comes next. And I think that's where we saw them on tour on the
I think you're right. Yeah.
college indie scene. And Absolution was out, but had not gotten to radio play that was going to do what it did. But to see him in a
We
club,
probably heard him more on like Canadian radio than we did on Buffalo radio.
yes, there's no question about that. Yeah.
But that means we both have the same number one.
Yes, we do. So you're number 1.
Take it
And
away.
my number 1 is
Go right ahead.
Absolution from 2003. This is just an all-out progressive rock assault. It is one of the greatest progressive rock albums of all time. If you don't think so, you need to go back and you need to play it against some of these other people that we talk about. Rush, Yes. It's just when you're comparing it to those bands, you have to think outside the box of where things are and what you have to do. I mean, progressively, things could have been created and recreated and bigger and better. Yes, in the 70s and moving into the 80s. But here's a band in 2003. They got a guy playing keyboard, guitar, and singing who was pretty much a virtuoso at all 3. And probably the most underrated guitar player in a band. The most underrated keyboardist organist in a band, and his sound is different. It's not the same as everybody else's to me, and somehow those first 2 albums were stupendous. Showbiz, Origin of Symmetry, and Absolution. Just how do you do that? I mean, it was a ridiculous pace for what I was thinking.
I can't wait till Muse in 25 years from now decides they're not going to tour anymore because they're too old, and then Bellamy decides just to do the solo thing and come to small theaters in every city.
Acoustic, unplugged. Can you imagine Muse unplugged? They're like sacrilege. We're gonna break it down now, all right? Oh man, there's what? Well, there's something coming in the album wars and stuff. Who knows what we might do?
I read where it said the producer wanted to give, in this particular album, Muse a bigger, more aggressive sound, and it's more polished than some of the previous albums, and they really intentionally incorporated some of the classical influences with orchestral parts of tracks.
Yeah.
And I mean, it stands out there. I mean, everything sounds like it should be played in a stadium. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many bands that play stadiums that don't have the stadium sound. It's kind of not a stadium kind of thing. This is a band that, Jesus, I mean, for us to have seen them where we saw them, it's insane.
I mean, they played as loud as they would in a normal stadium, I think.
There's only one
very
way to do it, and that's all out, right? Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, that is definitely my favorite album. It was the minute I was doing this, Absolution was number one, and I knew Origin of Symmetry was probably going to, but I went, I got to go back. I got to go back. Black Holes and Revelations is quite the record too. So you talk about a band with. I think there was a point there where it
I
wasn't.
think they're about due for a box set or a best of, don't you think?
Yeah, but you know what? Hopefully they don't. God, unless you're gonna do
Just in
something
time for
incredible,
Christmas.
do a live anthology because I love the live stuff. I would love to hear how that. I mean, I
Did
have
they
some of it.
release their one of their like European shows?
I mean, I have two albums. What do I have? I have
Was it one in Rome or something like that?
what do I have? I have Holland, some with an H, right?
Maybe it was released like on video or
Something
something.
Hullabaloo, maybe. HARP. That was released in 2008. I have that one, and then live. Yeah, you were right. Rome Olympic Stadium. That was 2013. Um, Now Harp did really well because I think that had a couple of formats. That was almost. I think that was like a number one selling kind of record. Oh, it was number
I feel
10.
like I always have to bring this up anytime I talk about Muse, but I just think it's amazing that they have guitars that look like iPads.
Yeah, I mean, you see the stage show. It's the things that he can do with a guitar, maddening, maddening. And what is he like 5'4"? you know,
Yeah.
I think there was a time there where I was like, God, I hope that Goldie Hawn's daughter doesn't ruin this, like she did the Black Crows.
Yeah, they were here. They were here in Tampa years ago, like probably maybe 18 or 19, and I didn't go. I probably should have just because I had never seen them in a big stadium atmosphere, and I'm sure it was awesome.
Yeah, we certainly didn't get a light show where we were.
They had some. I remember his keyboard was all synchronized.
Oh yeah, the keyboard would go. Yeah. That's about all they could get together on that. So, all right. So it's at that time of the show where we're gonna take a little thing about where is Muse's catalog in the world today. So we talk about a faded memory. The band is merely a shadow of themselves, little relevance except in the past. It's a catalog you listen to less often. One of the albums and you leave the rest. Then there's the idea of moving up a little bit. The opening act, there's something special. There's albums, songs. They have some more to prove, or potentially, and they're comfortable where they are, maybe, perhaps. Then you go to the club level, which they have some good albums, songs, but not as reliable, nor are they as inventive. Relevant. The albums have been getting much better as they move forward, maybe even hitting stride, and truly on their way to potential greatness. Iconic, very memorable, very influential to the listener and the industry. They are trend-setting, generational, and then finally legendary. That the entire catalog is near perfection, reliable. They're always inventive, nearly, and they are sincere and influential always. What? Which one do you? I should probably print this list. So I have to keep saying it.
I just wonder if this band can like. Is there an album in their future where they're going to be a little more less than what they're not so much difficulty or intricate writing, musicianship? Like, do they do something a little more subdued? Similar. Think about like some of the best U2 albums aren't just them doing crazy things, just very simple, straight ass stuff. Like, if they did that, does it do something for them where they get in a big movie soundtrack, they get some huge hit US single, some huge, like, do they get something that kind of puts them on the map to not maybe be as big as U2, but kind of where we think they should be, you know what I mean? Even
Yeah,
though they probably are. I mean, not that they're not one of the biggest bands. Like you said, they were recognized as one of the biggest bands in the world ever, but to stay there, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, okay. So in that instance, it's like when you write a song, does it always have to be so over the top, so big, so produced? And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'll say in this is that let's just take let's take a really bad example of something where it's not a bad example. It's just a small band. All right, Svengali, for example. Boom, boom, boom. Right. You know, they threw out metal album and they had metal hits, but they did this one song. that had that, melody, and sort of like Cinderella, right? Where Grandpa ain't gonna listen to that, but Grandpa's loving that one song. And you're like, Grandpa, don't buy that album because that the rest of it's shredding, right? I can't think of the name of the song from Svengali, but I'll put it in the list as it goes across the screen. I think you're right about Muse, where could they write? I mean, okay, so here's where they get ripped. Here's where they get fucked. They wrote a song for Bond, right? That never got released.
Didn't they do one for the Olympics too? One of the Olympic games?
Yeah, I think that one might have, I don't know if that one got done or not. Like Radiohead did a Bond thing too, right? And theirs didn't get out. Am I right? Maybe am I confusing the two?
I don't know.
So when I was thinking about the Bond thing, I remember that the drummer talked about, like, when he did Supremacy, it was supposed to be all out crazy like Live and Let Die. So it had that Bond, that kind of thing. But the Bond producer, Broccoli, denied that it had been considered for the 2012 Bond theme, where they took Skyfall instead.
I mean, they made a good choice.
Yeah. There's nothing to say that you can't shelve it away for the for. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you in that could elevate that persona of them in the overall music industry. And music multiverse, right? So they have a certain following. It is a broad base of age, but it has to do with the progressive environment. So if they stepped outside the progressive environment for a few tracks, that might gain more traction and affection for them. That might be, look at Rush's Road, right? Nerds, right? Okay, then as you go to see the show, oh man, now you're hooked, So where do you place him?
I can't remember the categories, but
legendary, iconic, relevant, club level, opening act, faded memory. Or maybe it's where they are now, where they'll be.
Right now, I'm just gonna say relevant because I haven't had an album since 2020, right? So 22.
22. So, it's the third year. It's probably coming this year, to be honest with you.
Probably relevant on this side of the world, probably legendary on the other side of the world.
Yeah, on the other side of the world, that's how I was taking this. That's good that you went that way. I'm telling you that, yes, in the United States, they are a very relevant band in the overall environment. I think people recognize their contribution to progressive rock and the manifesto that they do as three men. And I think on this end of the spectrum too, in the United States, they sell out stadiums. People will. I mean, so as it is as a stadium act, they are iconic to near legend.
Here's what I want them to do. I want them to do the Super Bowl.
There you go. You heard it here first. Muse Super Bowl. All right.
That's what they should pick.
And have the Super Bowl in London.
That could be someday.
That's the smart thing to do. And have Coldplay open. They only have to do, but they can only do 2 songs. And they can only be the older stuff. I consider that, and then on the other side,
Mick Jagger.
I consider the other side of the fence in the United Kingdom that they are probably legendary at this point, and they are pretty much, I believe, one of the albums. It might be Origin of Symmetry is in the top 100 albums of all time. By a lot of magazines. That's
one of those bands, Mike or Mark, where you say there's one thing better than seeing Muse in Europe.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to thank Jeff for doing this show with me tonight. What did you think of the catalog of Muse? Are you a Muse? I couldn't think of anything quick on that one.
Fan.
Are you what?
Fan.
Yeah, I was hoping to, there's some sort of Whovian reference I could do for Doctor Who, but I guess I couldn't make it happen. I should have done more research. Do you have every album like I do? Have you seen them live? Would love your impressions of and your ranking of the albums too. Please, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. Articles, video, podcast, it's a couple of weeks away. all about music, albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Coming up this Thursday will be panelists' favorite show, and we're going to do albums that remind us of spring. Everyone's bringing 5 albums that remind us of spring in some way or form. Thanks for watching, and happy listening.